Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today I have a really exciting knife review to share with you guys. We're taking a look at the CJRB Pyrite Lite. I am really freaking stoked about this. So let's go ahead and kick this review off. Start off with a blade length measurement. Sharpened edge is coming in here just a hair under 3 inches. Just a hair, the tiniest sliver under 3 inches. We're going to call it a 2.9 inch sharpened edge. Overall blade length is, if we measure all the way back to the furthest spot on the choil, actually, you know what, let's measure to the closest spot on the handle. We're a little bit under 3.5 inches. A little bit bigger than the other pyrites, as we will see here in a little bit. Let's go ahead and start with our size comparisons. As always, the inaugural rats. There's the rat 1 and the rat 2. Very similar in size to the rat 2, actually. Next up, let's bring out our Civivis. There is the Elementum and Lepraxis. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Let's get our USA made comparisons. Spyderco PM2 and Le Benchmade Bug Out. This kind of feels like a competitor to this in a lot of ways. And now let's go ahead and start with a parade of CJRBs. Let's start off with the Wharncliffe Pyrite, or the Pyrite Alt. Very similar blade shape, but a little bit different and a little bit bigger, as I mentioned earlier. Here's the Drop Point Pyrite. Again, we're just a hair larger. And there's my air conditioning turning on. Thank you, air conditioning. Let's go ahead and pull out the CJRB Bowie Pyrite, which is recently reviewed, and I just am pulling it out here because I had it on the table. And here is our large Pyrite. So there you go. It is smaller than a large Pyrite, as you might have guessed. And just because we're at it and I've got these knives laying here, here it is against the CJRB Frac, and here it is against the CJRB Feldspar. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, what are we looking at for our materials? We have a blade, I'm going to call this a sheep's foot, Wharncliffe, Wharncliffe blade of AR RPM9 steel, FRN scales with steel liners, a steel pocket clip running on bearings, and we've got a button lock. Now, I am going to spare you guys the Pyrite talk. I feel like I've given the Pyrite talk a lot recently. Yes, I've got all kinds of Pyrite sitting here on my desk that I could use to give you a lesson in mineralogy, but you know what? I feel like I have done that enough on this channel. So here we go. There's some pyrite. It's a mineral, iron disulfide. We're gonna leave it at that. Let's go to the review cutting. Hey guys, you ready to do some review cutting? Boy, I sure am. I'm up north again, visiting the folks. So in my old stomping grounds, glad to be back. Give you guys a little change of scenery. And you know, I live down in southern New Mexico now, and I love the desert down there. The Chihuahuan Desert is absolutely beautiful. I love southern New Mexico so much. And a lot of people just assume that that's where I'm from. You know, I'm always out hiking the desert, exploring these abandoned mines, climbing peaks, things like that. And a lot of people just assume that I've always been down there. And a lot of people are surprised to know that northern New Mexico, the woods like this are my natural habitat, right? But I love it up here. It's absolutely gorgeous. What knife are we talking about today? CJRB Pyrite Lite. I love this knife so much, so I want to make sure I came out to an area that I absolutely love to do the review cutting. Yeah, you know what? Real quick, let's do a little tour for you guys, just cause, right? We got a little bit of a storm rolling in. It rained and hailed pretty darn hard this morning. So fingers crossed that doesn't roll in again. But let's go over here across this old burn pile. past the skunk cabbage to these rocks here. Now these rocks are really, really cool. You can see there's a real big one poking up behind the trees. These are some of the oldest rocks in the state of New Mexico. This is the Tres Piedras orthoneiss. And it's, some people call it Tres Piedras granite. It's an orthoneiss because it's basically a foliated granite. It's this granite pluton that was emplaced about 1.7 billion years ago and then deformed. So we have foliations. It's basically squished and compressed. You can think of it that way. But we can still tell that it's a granite, which is why we call it an orthoneiss and not just a regular gneiss. There's a nice chunk of it. We've got a bunch of biotite, quartz, plagioclase feldspar, orthoclase feldspar, all the good granite-y stuff you would expect. Just had to share that because very, very cool rocks. Super old, super interesting. They were emplaced during the Yavapai orogeny, which was a island arc accretion to Laurentia, the North American craton, about 1.7 billion years ago. That gave us large portions of North America. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this pyrite. Let's start off with that action. Button lock, very smooth, works just like you'd want a button lock to work. This is actually one of the best button locks I've ever handled as far as the action goes. This thing has an absolutely ridiculously good detent. I hope that's coming across on camera, but man, that pop is so satisfying. Mwah, chef's kiss. It's immaculate. Reverse flick is good. The thumb studs are shaped really nicely. We do have kind of a cutout to the thumb studs like on the original pyrite. This one's a little bit bigger and it's more like a finger well, but it still works to kind of guide your thumb into where it needs to be. Man, that's just so damn snappy. So in short, what I'm saying is the action is exceptional. It's good. It's really, really good. Let's go ahead and talk about the ergonomics. Very, very good. The ergonomics are actually a huge upgrade from the standard pyrite. So number one, we have contoured scales. Not like overly contoured. It seems like a weird way to say that, but they are contoured scales. And the edges are chamfered real nicely. They're plastic scales, but they feel good. They're reinforced by full steel liners, which are countersunk. I absolutely love that. And the shaping of the handle is very sophisticated. Again, this area here is a little bit different than on the original pyrites. This is a little bit deeper. It's a little bit more of a finger well. Just fits the hand amazingly. You can choke up into this choil pretty easily. I do wish the jimping went further down the blade. I complain about that a lot, but this is good jimping. It's got a good texture. The blade is crowned, which does add a little bit of comfort in the hand. The jimping could be a little bit sharper, but it's fine. I'll give it a pass as far as texture goes. The handle here has a very nice pattern. Just feels really, really good in your hand. It adds a little bit of grip, but more than that, it just adds some indexing. You know, it just helps you to kind of feel like you've got a good hold on the knife. So absolutely fantastic ergos. Let's go ahead and talk about that carry. This knife does have a reversible pocket clip. Let's go lefties. The clip is inset to liners with flat screws. Absolutely perfectly executed clip in every way. It's CJRB standard clip, which I think is a completely fine clip. It doesn't bother me in the hand. It works in and out of the pocket. It's not super flashy, but I'm really not looking for flashy with a pocket clip. So there we go. Yeah, in and out of the pocket really easily. This texturing does not, interfere with anything at all. So absolutely fantastic carry. This knife is, not a ultra lightweight knife, but it's a lightweight knife. You're not going to notice it in your pocket, I don't think. Just really, really comfortable. All right, let's go ahead and start cutting. We have, I'm going to call this a sheep's foot blade, fully flat, well, almost fully flat ground. For all intents and purposes, fully flat ground. Sheep's foot blade, AR RPM 9 steel, very, very thin. Let's go ahead and cut with this thing. I got to grab my box. Gideon wasn't completely organized for a video. Jeez, may wonders never cease, huh? All right, let's go ahead, break into this bad boy. as if we don't get in the choil, that would be really, really helpful. Goodness gracious. You know, I might need to put another edge on here. I haven't used this knife a lot. It's a little bit rough, but we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna see what the geometry is really like with a less than ideal edge. Utility cuts with this knife. Go ahead and get a little closer down, a little more intimate. Very, very nice. And again, that crown spine makes putting your finger out here really dang comfortable. So yeah, as far as the slicer goes, it's a thin, flat ground blade. It glides the material really, really nicely. Alrighty, let's go ahead and cut this rope. Whoa! I might need to work on that edge. I should have thought of that before I started filming, but you know what? We're gonna go with it. In fact, let's do that rope pull again. Let's get a different part of the blade. Might be a little bit sharper. There we go. Let's go ahead and do some crunches. There goes a log truck. 1, 2, 3. You know what? It did all right. Blades like this, they have a pretty much straight edge. This one has a little bit of belly. It's hard to get down on a cutting board with these, but it did all right. Let's see what happens if I get off the edge and really crunch down. Yeah, it did fine. It did absolutely fine. All right, let's get our pool noodle. This is going to be the real test for the geometry. 1. Oh my goodness. You know what? I don't often do this, but I think we are going to have to tune up the edge of this knife just a little bit because it is basically gone. I've been using this thing a lot, so I'll be right back. You know, I don't like doing this, but you know, normally I like to make sure the knife is sharp before I start doing the review cutting. But in this case, since I've been traveling, I was a little bit neglectful. So we're going to quickly put an edge on this thing and I'll get right back to you guys. You know, I guess I could just trash all the footage I already took of me doing the review cutting, but you know, and just pretend like I had a sharp knife in my pocket. But that feels disingenuous. So we're not going to do that. But we got a sharp knife now. I think that'll do the trick. Alrighty. Always have one of these with you guys, I'm telling you. Should we do everything over again? You know what? We might as well. This is going to be the longest Gideon Stuff review cutting ever, but hey, witness history being made. Right, guys? That looked pretty good, didn't it? There we go. Ooh la la. 1, 2, 3. Pool noodle time, baby. 1, 2, 3. Woo! That one blew away. Where'd it go? There it is. Alrighty, yep, absolutely excellent blade geometry. Look how thin we went on those. Absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic, fantastic work. It's a wonder what your knife will do when it's sharp. Right, guys? There you go, there's a good look at that beast. Let's go ahead and get back to the table.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and talk about what I'm liking and not liking about this knife. And as always, we're going to start with the things that I like. Everything. Alright, review over. This is a perfect knife. That's all I need to know. Goodbye, bye. I'm only half kidding. We are going to go into details, but I freaking love this knife. So, first of all, I like the size. I like that they decided to make the Pyrite just a little bit bigger. I said for my very first handling of a Pyrite that it was just just a little bit too small for me. I got over it as time went on. Obviously, I love the Pyrite. I've got a bunch of them, but the original Pyrite, I felt like it was too big to be like a backup knife, but just a little bit smaller than what I would consider to be my main EDC knife. This knife is absolutely solidly in my preferred range for an EDC knife. I think this is a great size, so I'm glad they went ahead and made it a little bit bigger. Next thing, the ergos. Oh my gosh, the ergos. Oh, this is just excellent. In a lot of ways, this knife kind of feels like CJRB took the feldspar and the pyrite and mixed them together. And I was just going to say, let me pull out this feldspar again. Feldspar, blah, 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 blah. But not this one, because this one has the flat scales. Give me just a second to pull out my original feldspar. Actually, I grabbed my modified small feldspar, because look, it's like the same color combo. That's pretty sweet. But this knife feels like they took the feldspar and the pyrite and squished them together. And a lot of that comes from the way the handle feels. The feldspar has been well known ever since it came out, focus up camera, for its fantastic ergos. And the ergos are as good as they are because we have contoured scales over inset liners. You can see here in cross section. Wow, my camera's having a hard time focusing today. You can see right there, contoured scales with the inset liners. We got that exact same thing right here. Contoured scales, inset liners. And in fact, they're pretty darn similar in width. This is just a hair slimmer, but very, very similar. And the end result is just great, great ergos. The handle itself has also been slightly modified from the shape of the original Pyrite. If we compare these two together, we can see that this area here is a lot deeper. And what that does is it kind of gives this a little bit more of a pistol grip. It kind of feels like the handle cants down a little bit more. And in the original Pyrite, the handle does cant down, but you feel it a lot more in this knife here. Because of that deep finger well, you feel like you're really, really locked in. I can get a full 4-finger grip very, very easily. Super, super comfortable. I mean, the clip disappears in my hand. It's hand-filling yet slim. I can choke up into this little choil here for detail work. The ergos feel fantastic. When I'm choked back here, this jimping also feels decently jimpy enough. I was gonna say decently good, but that sounded wrong. Decently good. Decently good. I don't know if that's proper grammar or not. I don't really care, to be honest. The jimping here is fine. I do wish it went further, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, the ergos on this thing are an absolute win. This texturing here provides a little bit of grip, but more than grip, it just provides a little bit of interest to the handle and provides a little bit of a unique feeling in hand. So I like it a whole lot. And by the way, the FRN, yeah, it feels plasticky, but like honestly, it doesn't feel bad. I don't mind it at all. Next thing, let's go ahead and talk about that action. Very, very good action here. The thumb studs are very comfortable and they are exactly where you want them to be. That's something that the Pyrite's always been good at, is placement of their thumb studs, and the thumb stud design in general is really good. You can see here on the original Pyrite that they mill in a little scoop on the scales to give you easy access to that stud. Here, that scoop has become more of a finger well, but it still fits that same purpose of guiding your thumb to where it needs to go. And the detent on this thing is immaculate. This is the best button lock detent I have ever felt. That thing rockets out there. It is so dang snappy. It feels like this thing has an actual detent. That reverse flick is really good. Man, that thing just pops. It is so satisfying. I am not the biggest fan of button locks, as you guys know, but the Pyrite has always been one that I make an exception for. This has the best of the best button lock action. It is absolutely superb. No complaints whatsoever. That button is easy to get to. Yeah, I like it a whole lot. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about this blade, because this blade is excellent. So, the spine is actually crowned, which I find to be a really neat touch. Makes the knife very soft, very comfortable if you're going to be, like choking up here using your finger in this kind of position. Really, really like it. The blade shape itself is incredibly utilitarian. We got a little bit, just the slightest bit of upsweep to this edge. So we've got just a little bit of belly, a tip that's dropped down so you can get to it very easily. The way that the handle kind of merges with the blade makes it feel like you're always pointing your edge where it needs to be. You can get powerful cuts. You can trap material into your cuts. Just an excellent, excellent blade. Nearly a full flat grind. It is technically a saber grind. We've got a flat portion. Focus camera. We've got a flat portion up here, but I mean, functionally, it's a full flat grind. Comes down to a nice thin tip. This edge is very slicey, yet because it's a flat grind, you do get a little bit of strength and durability behind that edge, which I really appreciate. Plunge grind, way the heck back here. Don't think it interferes with a stop pin. Nope, absolutely not, because the button acts as a closing stop pin. This blade is excellent. AR RPM 9 had a little bit of a controversy earlier this year, right? I like this steel. I always stood by it. I think this steel is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's not powder form, it's spray form. I still think it works really, really well. It is so easy to touch up. I mean, this steel is ridiculously easy to touch up. In fact, I'm going to tell a story right now. If we look here at my tip, yeah, you can see it better on this side. See, it's a little bit wonky there. Well, that's because, in fact, I need to do some resharpening on this guy in general. I broke the tip off of this knife. I was hiking and I was cutting an apple and I dropped this knife and it landed tip down on a rock and snapped off the littlest bit of the tip. But I just pulled out my Work Sharp field sharpener and I put a tip back on there. And again, like, I didn't do a perfect job. I should probably resharpen this guy and reprofile it. But for an in the field fix, that is pretty darn nice. This steel is a joy to work with, and I think it's the perfect choice for a knife like this. Next up, the carry. This thing is obviously very light, folds up to a nice slim package. The pocket clip is perfect, absolutely perfect. Look at that. Inset to the scales with flat screws, and it's reversible. Excelente, excelente. This is what we always want to see. And the carry, again, it's a Pyrite Lite. It's lightweight. I heard some people talking about like how this isn't significantly lighter than the other Pyrites, and like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but it's a little bit bigger, and I think the light mainly comes from the price tag. But this is a very light knife. If this is too heavy for you, then you should probably hit the gym more. Now, CJRB also made another change to this knife that is a significant improvement over previous iterations of the Pyrite. Let me pull out my Weehaws here. There we go. This is my T8. Yep. We've got T8 body screws. T8 screws all the way around except for the pocket clip, which is T6. Excellent. Excellent. I love to see that. That is a huge quality of life improvement over other Pyrites. And they've done a couple of other things. I mean, this is something they've been doing a lot lately, but they've minimized their branding to just right here, which a lot of people appreciate. I don't really mind stuff like that too much one way or another, but this does look nice and classy. And the biggest thing that this knife has done is come in at an affordable price. At the time of this recording, you can still get this knife for like 30 bucks on Amazon. I think regular price is 40 bucks, but they've got like a coupon where it's 30 bucks. Hopefully that deal is still going when this video comes out. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal deal. This is the very best $30 knife you can buy right now. All right, let's go ahead and go into a few of my complaints. There are not many. One, we already mentioned, I do wish the jimping came out a little bit further. I think that's just, I don't know, I complain about jimping a lot. Two, I kind of wish that the button was blacked out to match the blade and stuff, but I mean, that doesn't really affect the utility all that much. And that's about it. Yeah, that's it. That is it. So, what are my final conclusions? Can you guess? Look, I love the Pyrite. I absolutely love the Pyrite, and I think a lot of people do. And CJRB is continuing to pump them out. I mean, I have all my CJRB Pyrites here with me right now. Oops. You know, I very rarely buy multiples of a knife, but the Pyrite is one that I think is worth getting multiples of, especially because they make a lot of different versions. The only Pyrite I don't have any of right now is actually the mini Pyrite. I've got the CJRB mica, but I do not have a mini Pyrite. I need to fix that. And CJRB is going to continue making Pyrites. I was actually going to film a video about my CJRB Pyrite collection, and they dropped the Tonto Pyrite. So now I have to go and get one of those and a mini Pyrite before I make that video. But about this knife here, this is the best version of the Pyrite. In fact, I think this is the best knife that CJRB has ever made. For a long time, the Feldspar I thought was the greatest knife that CJRB has ever made. I absolutely love the Feldspar. You guys know how much I love the Feldspar. But this is the best knife that CJRB has ever made. It's useful, it's super functional, and it's affordable. This is the ultimate budget knife. And I can tell you right now, this is probably going to be my budget knife of the year. Unless something absolutely insane comes out that I get to handle before the end of the year, this is going to be the Gideon Stuff budget knife of the year. This is probably the best buy you can make in the EDC world right now. I absolutely love this knife. They've got a couple different versions of it. They've got this version here. They have one that has a green handle, and one of my viewers recently made me aware that there is a version on CJRB's website with the rose gold finished blade and the blue scales. That one's like a little more expensive than the others, but yeah, this thing is absolutely fantastic, and it is kicking everything else's butt right now. As far as I'm concerned, there's not a budget knife out there that can even hope to compete with this knife just because of the price point. I absolutely love this thing. I have used this knife as an EDC knife. This knife has gone with me as an adventure knife. I've got a video about that coming out tomorrow. I've taken this out in the woods, hiking, camping. This is kind of the perfect pocket knife in a lot of ways. And I really, really appreciate everything that it does. Anyways, that's going to be it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. Big shout out to my channel members at the Cowboy level. I really appreciate everything they do. If you want early access to videos, as well as emojis and other perks, click the link down below to join. That's going to be it for today, guys. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.